Live from the Green Room Studios, from the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center, 3810 Whites Creek Pike, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
Oh, welcome in, everybody. Saturday morning, it means it's time for the At Home Show. We're going to come to you in a simple fashion this morning, David Bates, as we're fathers and we're dads, so we're simple kind of people. So we're going to have the show, but we're going to, I want to say dumb it down, because we don't ever dumb it down, because we got to have it going on.
We got three dads on the show today, Josh, and so we're going to get to hear from all three of us. Welcome in, everybody, and yes, I am David Bates, and right over there's Tyler Blankenship.
The Tyler, the Tyler reaction. There we go.
There we go. Dad in the studio, Austin Lowen. Happy Father's Day, Austin.
Thank you.
And of course, Caroline Gant.
Who has a dad?
Who has a dad?
Yes.
That's right. But
Good morning.
I think y'all kind of decluttered. This is the between the 5 boxwood, thinking outside the boxwood today. So
That's right.
Anyway, we're glad everyone is here today, and we're going to talk about the weather.
Yes.
And, you know, if there is some improvement, believe it or not. It's after a week of absolute
hell,
unmitigated swelter.
Moist.
We've got a couple of days of reprieve, and then we go back to hell again. So it's just what you call the Father's Day reprieve. 77 degrees currently here, which is absolutely glorious. And the air is not so sticky. So those are good things. 88 degrees for the high today. And sunny conditions. Look at that overnight low temperature, 58. It just sounds spectacular. 88 tomorrow, Sunday. By the way, the last Sunday of spring happens to be Father's Day, and this is the last Sunday that Bates Nursery and Garden Center will be open for the spring season. We'll be closed on Sundays until fall, so just remember that. Tomorrow is your last Sunday shopping day at Bates Nursery. On Monday, things are going to start to warm up again, 94 degrees. And of course, you see that sunshine straight on through. And then the real heat starts to turn back up again. Tuesday, 100 degrees. Wednesday, 102. Thursday, 99. Friday, 97. Saturday, 99. Sunday, 99. Monday. So you get the general idea. It's going to be another hot week ahead, but that is not right now. We're going to have really nice weather conditions for this weekend. So enjoy it. Enjoy your Father's Day weekend, and enjoy spending some time with Dad, and just getting out and doing what you enjoy doing, and
spray all of his conifers, because we have
waiting on Dad hand and foot.
Yes. Easily.
And of course, as you mentioned, the spraying of conifers is one of those things that people need to be mindful of, need to be checking closely for that, and we'll be talking about that as we go through the program. And I'm sure that Caroline has a number of questions lined up for us, and so we will get to those. And plus, let's just go straight to it.
Yes.
It's Father's Day weekend, and this is the time of year when there are two pests that really affect conifers negatively, and bagworms and spider mites are those two, and they're pretty easily controlled right now. But if you wait, if you delay, they can become decidedly problematic and much more difficult to control.
Yeah, that's for sure. So if you know you got them, like you said, it's not that hard to deal with, but knowing that you have them is the key. So spider mites are really small insects. I mean, very small. They're very, very hard to see, and what you generally see first is webbing, like almost like a spider web, except really, really tight. And you'll start to see that as the numbers get bigger. We need to keep an eye out on those, especially if you have, say, dwarf Alberta spruce. You know, maybe people use dwarf Alberta spruce on either side of their porch walking up. It's a very formal look. But if you don't watch those and the spider mites get on them, you're going to see some issues pretty quickly. They don't rebound very quick if you see problems with those. So keep an eye out for that. Josh, you mentioned bagworms, and if you don't know bagworms, they're pretty easy actually to spot. It looks like literally like a little a brown bag that dangles from the plant, and this
Little
is
Christmas
mainly
tree ornament looking
yes,
thing.
pretty much. A lot of people actually think that they are. I mean, you know, it's funny, but they're generally on arborvitae most often, and Leland cypress they're on a lot most often. So those are your kind of bigger screening plants, and we want to keep those looking good because they're screening out your neighbors, which is very popular to do now. So keep an eye out for those, and if you get them, come out and see us, and we'll get you something to spray on them.
What about Japanese beetles this year?
They're
I've
here.
heard a bunch
They're
of them.
here.
Yeah.
Caroline's got them. She said it.
They're everywhere in my garden.
What do they like most?
My evening primrose. They love it.
They love crepe myrtle.
The 4 o'clocks.
They love hibiscus.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I found my
Roses
first
of all
one.
kinds.
Roses of all
Yep.
kinds, certainly. Rose of Sharon and
Really pretty bug.
They are a pretty
Yeah.
bug.
They're kind
yeah.
of adorable.
They are.
But
They're-
they're so evil.
And they're an invasive species. They are not native to here, and hence the name. And they came from Asia a long time ago, but they can be nasty. So I know we're going to get questions on how to get rid of them, how to prevent them, how to do all that. Have a nice work on your flicking skills. I know Ann in the office who works here is one of our favorite employees. She's hilarious. She answers the phone for us. She loves to flick those Japanese. It gives her great
Joy?
to
does.
flick and kill those Japanese beetles. So if you see them, flick them, kill them. That's the best way to kind of keep them in check. But when they get bad, they get bad. If you do have to spray, we can certainly get you something for that. But
Now, again,
Hey,
the sex
before-
attractant
hang
baits, the
on,
pheromone
Josh,
baits.
just-
Go ahead.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay. Oh, before we move on from the spider mites and bagworms,
Okay.
we kind of jumped straight into Japanese beetles, but it's worth taking a couple of other little notes that right now, the bagworms, as you would see them right now, they're very small. They're maybe only a quarter of an inch long. You have to look closely to even see them. Matter of fact, they don't really look all that baggish looking
No.
at this stage because they haven't accumulated enough other material from the host plant that they're feeding off of. So you have to look very carefully for them. Spider mites, the easiest way to detect those apart from the webs is to simply hold a sheet of white paper that has nothing printed on it and smack on the foliage above it. And whatever dislodges, you look at the paper and you'll be able to see these little periods that move around. Those are the spider mites. That's the easiest way to see them because you can't see them when they're on the plant. I mean, it's almost impossible. So,
And it's best
if
time
you
to
wait-
get. Yeah.
and if you wait until they become really obvious, you've already lost the battle. So one of the things you'll notice about conifers in a nursery setting, we do overhead irrigation, and spider mites are almost never a problem, mainly because spider mites like it hot and dry. They do not like overhead moisture. So if you can wet the foliage, that helps deter the spider mites, but it doesn't do anything for the bagworms. I suggest, and I really don't like having to use chemical insecticides, but if you spray a single time right now of permethrin, you can deal with both those pests in one shot right now and be done with it. So you'll minimize your exposure to the chemical and you'll maximize the effectiveness, and you can get it done right now.
Because
one
now's the time.
and
I mean, when they're in that nymphy stage, that little teeny tiny stage, they're the most vulnerable to the.
Don't wait
sprays.
until they become problematic.
No, but
just
I mean-
assume that they are.
Now, I was being a bit glib, which I've been known to do, but the pheromone bags that that are sold are quite effective, but they have a downside in that if you put them up close to where the plants are, you're going to draw them right to where the plants are. So our old trick was to hang it on the mailbox or the neighbor's mailbox.
Give them to your neighbors as
yes.
gifts, housewarming gifts. You know, they might not know better.
But at least 200 feet away if you can. And that's tough in some of the environments that we have in the neighborhoods around anymore. But they will catch bug. They will catch them. Boy, they will bring them in.
yeah, which
Is bad
Okay.
and good.
good or bad. Yeah, like you said.
You like neem? Or, I mean, do you do?
Neem is not very effective with
Okay.
beetles. I'm sorry. Beetles in general have that hard exoskeleton, if you will, and they just really don't die very well from the oils or the soap.
Even insecticidal soap doesn't do
No,
very much.
it really doesn't do
that's
anything.
That's why that when you're dealing with these things, there really are no.
And the insecticide we sell that's called 8. Instead, y'all are familiar with 7 dust.
8's got to be better.
8's a little bit better. Yeah, 1 point better. But yeah, it's that the active in that is permethrin, which is a very good insecticide. It kills a number, I think like 130 different insects.
Now, the Prince of Potions used to recommend milky spore in the yard because you're going to try to prevent them as much as anything, aren't you, David?
Yeah, that's a preventative measure.
Yeah. But it takes a while and it's expensive.
It is. And if you got a big yard, it's just tricky.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, it's there are a lot of ways to do it, but the one way that does not work is to do nothing.
Right.
That's right.
Doesn't do any good in the bottle.
If you take no action. So, Caroline, what do you got lined up for us question-wise? I'm curious about that.
Oh, we have a lot this morning, so let's get to it. Our first one asks, is it all right to plant blueberries in this heat?
All right.
Ooh, I need to plant some.
I've got some I need to plant too.
Or that heat, either one.
And yes, it's certainly okay to plant blueberries. And blueberries or anything for that matter is totally fine to plant right now. But you've got to keep an eye on these plants, y'all. It's hot. It is dry. So if you are going to plant, which is totally fine to do, you need to make sure you soak that plant thoroughly after you plant it, right at the root zone. Don't water leaves, straight to the roots, and keep an eye on it. You got to look at that every day. It's summertime. They're a new plant. Anytime you plant something new, you really got to watch it if you're going to do it in this summer sun and heat. So yes, you can do it, but you got to watch it and you got to water it.
I'm watering a lot right now.
Yeah, I think we all are. This is a weird. It's June.
Yes.
It's June. It's not even July or August yet. It's hot, unbelievably hot and dry. So we're having to water more so than we ever would before. I'm a big time proponent of not watering unless I have to. I need those plants to latch in and find their own water, root down deep, find their own. So I'm not one to water just for no reason. But this season I have had to water. I watered corn the other day.
Oh my goodness.
Corn. What is wrong with me? I thought to myself, I know the corn will be fine. I know it'll live. But I thought,
but you were a little worried about
will it live better with water? And yes, it will. So I was out watering corn. Probably took me 45 minutes to thoroughly water all my sweet corn that I got, which I got the Silver Queen.
Corn?
Oh,
just the corn.
You have so much corn, though.
I
How many
love it.
do you have?
Oh, God. I dropped a lot of seed. I got 3 rows, a foot apart, and a foot spacing in between. So 170 or so not ears of corn.
Plants?
Plants of corn.
Plants of corn.
But they're popping up straight in rows. They look good. Some of them big, some of them small. We had a lot of wind yesterday. If y'all were growing corn, we had some wind. And it'll lay them down or turn them at a 45. So when they're young like that, just know they will stand back up. It just takes them some time. But yeah, corn when they're young, they get hit by that wind, and they'll turn them sideways a little bit. But they'll stand back up. I'm hoping
they'll be okay. You can stake each and every one of those 170 corn plants.
I don't want to do that.
Okay, well let's move on to our next question.
Can you Florida weave corn, Austin?
No, but I have. I've done some stuff. I'll have to get y'all some pics and let you see. I've done some work with the corn.
He's done some stuff.
I've done some stuff. We do need to see that garden
You
on the
have
show.
to, yeah.
I guess you'll Tennessee weave it.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Second question of the morning. Are there any plants that don't need good drainage, like a pot with no holes? So with pots with no holes, cachets, if you will, I usually suggest keeping your plant in a nursery pot and then setting it down inside that pot. Just because no drainage for just about every single houseplant, but I will talk about some that can handle a lot of moisture and holding water. It's going to rot your plant pretty quickly. So even if you don't think it is, or you think you're overwatering, there could be water just sitting in the bottom of that pot. But pitcher plants, I use those pots for my pitcher plants because they do like to sit in water. And I have really good luck with those. So yes, there are some
Tell
plants.
everybody what the pitcher plant
is,
is
or Venus flytrap. So they're carnivorous plants. They're going to eat bugs, which is great this time of year. This is the first year I've had fruit flies in my house, so I've actually got a new pitcher plant to help out with that. I also have a snake in my house that I did not get by my
bugs,
choosing.
though.
It's
Some
just
of them do.
it moved on in, and now I have a new roommate. It's a little bit scary, but it'll be all right. But they attract insects. They release basically a smell that insects are going to fly into the plant. With the Venus flytrap, they close up. They digest the bug, the spider. I had my Venus flytrap ate like 4 brown recluse in my house. So on
Very
top
nice.
of snakes, I also have brown recluse. And then they'll open back up, and you can see the little skeletons that they weren't able to digest. And they have like 3 to 5 clamp downs in a lifetime. And then with the pitcher plants, it really just looks like a pitcher that's open. You keep a little bit of water in there. Insects will fly in, they'll die, and the plant will digest it. So they're really cool plants and great with no drainage.
That's
Ferns
because
will
they
do
grow
all
in
right.
they grow in a swamp.
Yeah, they're bog plants.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are native to the U.S. I know Ben Trest, who's one of our landscape specialists here, has family who has property.
North
I wanna
Carolina.
say- yeah, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Louisiana or Mississippi.
Mississippi.
One of
Mississippi. It was
one
Mississippi.
of those
Where's
states,
that? Yeah.
Mississippi. But
How you
yeah, he
spell
was
that?
talking about how there's Mississippi. I don't think I've ever heard you say
Mississippi.
Mississippi.
I didn't mean to say
before.
that. It came out
It
wrong.
was perfect. It did not come out wrong. So yeah, in nature, I mean, they can grow. I've seen some huge ones before. But if you're not into carnivorous plants, I know some people are a little bit scared of them. Ferns will do all right. You will have to watch your watering a little bit. But heartleaf fern and ray fern will probably do best
Okay.
because I keep those in water. So there are some options.
And you will never meet anyone from Mississippi who says they are from
Mississippi.
Mississippi.
It's
Mississippi. Mississippi. It's fun to
Don't
say
we?
it like
Well,
that.
sip.
While the
Yeah.
camera's over here, Caroline has
Uh-huh.
a great webinar
Yes.
on choosing the right pot or container. So check it out on YouTube or on the Bates Nursery website.
So many webinars. I did one. What was it? Growing, Gone. I did it yesterday or the day before.
Thursday.
They're all the days are running together.
Dealing with houseplant failure.
It was a fun one. I always have a good time. And Austin has one next week, catch up on tomatoes.
Ketchup on tomatoes.
We're gonna catch up on them.
We had a question on the
we're
Facebook
featuring dad-proof plants in the studio today.
'cause they're
Caroline. So
simple
you did
people.
a deft job of grasses and boxwood. So we got no flowers of any kind.
Negative.
I think that suggests
Well-
that Dad would not even notice if it had blooms on them or not.
That's right. I decided on the grasses. Austin
Yeah.
brought in the boxwood.
Yeah.
I was like, what do dads like? Grasses. They like to mow or they like to put a grass in that's going to be a little bit more fancy that they don't have to mow.
That's
so.
right. That's what she told me. Yesterday with our theme was grasses, which is hilarious because dads mow all the time. We don't necessarily mow monkey
all
grass,
you
but
guys do.
It is
David
funny.
Bates
and then
does.
yep, that's right. He's got a
I
video.
mow mine once a year.
Yes, you do.
Uh-huh. And I just thought a lot of times when I'm out here and I see dads that are struggling with their kids or they're with their wife or whatever and they're trying to get a landscape done, they just want simple, y'all. They don't want to have to do work.
Dads are simple.
We just want to not have to do a lot when it comes to the landscape. I see that a lot when it comes with dads. So there you go. Put you some boxwoods out there. And
Sounds like he's profiling, David.
They're easy and
Hey, I'm a
they're
dad. I'm
cute.
allowed
I
to.
get it.
You are a dad.
Yeah, because you're a simple kind of gardener around your house, right?
I try to be. I
Yes.
try to be. Now
Simply
I do.
fancy.
I work a lot. I will say I have a lot. So the work is when I have to do work, I do the work. Okay, but I try my best not to have to very much. But like the other day I was watering corn.
Yep.
Yes, you were.
Who waters corn?
Jocelyn
You do
Bates.
now.
Yeah, Jocelyn had a question on Facebook page, guys, and she wants to know: do you have any tips
My
for?
cousin.
Yes, it is. Do you have any tips for getting rid of borer bees? They are eating up their wooden deck.
Josh, do you have insight on this?
The bee traps are probably as good as anything that you're going to do
Yeah.
behind painting the wood. Do you agree, David? I mean, you've had that problem at your
and when the wood is well painted and well maintained,
they won't mess
it's
with
pretty much impervious.
Yeah.
They won't mess with it. They'll go somewhere else. It's kind of like having a security fence. It's good because it just makes it. They'll go to an easier target. The
Chances-
paint, they don't like to do.
Do you
with
know
it,
if
So,
Jocelyn's deck is treated, or is it cedar or redwood, or there's a lot
I
of
do
stuff.
not know that.
Chances,
I
and
do
again,
not.
you may even have painted it, but that means painting all the sides, not the ones just that you can see up underneath the
Yeah,
top
side-
rail and the
yeah,
bottom
the sides
rail.
you don't paint. Yes.
Yes, that's where they'll find a spot.
That's interesting. I did not know that they wouldn't go through paint like that.
Well, they're going to find a way to get in, but we at one point in time, 1,000,000 years ago, we had a sponsor that was a log cabin builder. Honest Dave Log Homes, thank you, still around, built a great house. And one of their techs would tell us that once you see him go in, you just get a can of WD-40, and put the straw inside the hole, and
Get them.
it melts their little wings off.
Oh my!
Harsh.
That's sad.
But your house won't
Requires you to have
squeak
to be
either. So I mean,
really, that requires a lot of vigilance
Yes.
to be able to do that effectively. So there actually are some paint additives that have an insecticide that I can't tell you the name of it off the top of my head.
But you gotta
there are
paint
some
the whole
things
thing.
like that.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you live in a log cabin, you probably don't want it painted.
Nope.
That's
Nope.
part of the
Stains
deal with
and
that.
seals.
So
badminton rackets.
not an easy thing to answer. And
But the
just
lit-
to do nothing.
But the
about.
little bee traps are great now. They do have a pollinator tendency too, don't they, Austin? I believe they do. So you want I'm not a big fan of just killing them. I'd take them off there and, like David's witness relocation program, let's take them someplace maybe out in the woods and maybe they can bore a hole in a tree as opposed to your deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
they're not interested in trees.
no, they want the dead wood. But
They want the wood that's already been cut down for them.
And the other, I've not tried this myself, but if you'll take a paper bag, and they do have them at Publix, you can get them if you request them. Fill it up with the plastic bags that you get, and make it look like a wasp's nest, and hang it somewhere in the area. Folks swear by doing that as well. Say they'll go away.
Folks just swear.
They
but
swear.
Yes, they do.
By that
In
also.
general.
Especially dads. They're simple people.
Who swear?
Yeah.
All right, are we ready for our third question?
Do it.
We got a rose question, y'all. The leaves on my new dawn climbing roses are turning yellow. Cause and treatment.
Yellow leaves. Fairly normal, really, with roses in Middle Tennessee. We speak on this each week, probably, when it comes to roses. And it's usually the lower, most interior leaves that get the least amount of sunlight and airflow. It's somewhat normal, and New Dawn has already finished its first bloom cycle. I'm sure it was really, really showy, probably last week and the week before. And we're getting to the point where we really need to just cut off all those spent blooms and really give it a nice cut back anyway. Don't be scared to cut your roses during the growing season. And New Dawn's actually a pretty good rose, one of the best climbers, actually, of a large flower climber. And it will rebloom for you, but we need to go ahead and shorten it. Let's get some new stems on there that'll produce some new flower buds, that'll produce some new blooms. But yellowing leaves are not all that big of a deal. You need to pluck them off. I'm sure you're dealing with black spot right now. I know all the time I talk about roses, and if you really want to keep them clean, guys, you got to get on a fungicide regimen. Come in here and talk to me about how we can get you started on that, and that'll keep them clean. But it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of work, and a lot of time. So, dealing with a little bit of yellow leaves is something that you're probably going to have to deal with unless you want to really get on a schedule and get them cleaned up. So other than
happens.
that, it happens.
Yep.
It's
Those
roses.
are all of my
God.
roses right now,
Roses are
and I killed one the other
really
day.
annoying.
They are,
They can be
but they're beautiful.
Yes.
beautiful when they're blooming.
All right, we're going to
Certainly.
move on to a beautyberry question.
Oh,
Planted beautyberry in March. It is wilting now. I have been watering. It's also dying back.
Okay. Well, there's something going on. Beautyberry
Something
can
happening.
certainly beautyberry can handle some water, y'all. It's not like one of those that has to, it needs to be in a dry spot or anything. It can actually handle a little bit of moisture, but something is not right. So you're either not you could be watering, yeah, but maybe it's not deep enough. It's not getting down to the root zone where it needs to be. And I don't know if you're watering leaves or not. We don't need to be watering leaves, just need to be watering roots, but make sure it's a deep, adequate soak. We're getting hot and dry, so wilting almost always typically means underwatering. So just
Particularly during this time of year.
Yeah.
And the Calicarpa are usually, that's the botanical name for the beautyberry, is usually a fairly bulletproof plant. I mean, there's not,
it's a native.
as long as you've got sunshine and water, and you just give it some nutrition, it should do well. So maybe we can get our viewer to send us in a photograph and maybe give us a little more insight on that one.
Yeah.
One look helps a lot.
It really does.
There he does.
Yeah, you can always send photos along with your questions that we can put up on the screen as we talk about it. So, and then we're able to answer it a little more in depth and see what could possibly actually be the cause.
Hey, let's take a little diversion here for just a moment. Talk about Earthmix garden products, and if you're planting this time of year in particular, and you can do it very successfully. Earthmix Garden Products really helps your plants become established and keeps them growing at their highest level of vitality, where that you can give them reasonable care and have exceptional results, even planting in this ridiculous heat.
Yep.
Earthmix Landscape is a product that you'll probably hear recommended around here and around other independent garden centers in Middle Tennessee and Kentucky. It is a premium soil conditioner that gives your plants everything they need, and you won't even need to fertilize them for at least a month if you use that, and it helps those roots to get established quickly. Container grown plants are a big deal because they enable planting year-round. If the ground's not frozen, and I'm assure you it's not right now, you can plant any time of the year. So by using Earthmix Landscape to mix in with your soil when you're planting, it really gives your plants an excellent start. And if you can just keep a reasonable amount of water, you can have great success. Now, over into Caroline's world in indoor plants, Proganics I is the mix of choice, and it is a professional organic indoor growing media for most types of tropical plants. It does excellent job. Proganics O, if you've got outdoor container plantings, maybe on the patio. And of course, the flagship product is Earthmix Garden, and it's the general all-purpose. You could use it for planting with. You can plant directly into that without having, if your soil is just really bad, you can use that and plant into outright. So the entire line of Earthmix Garden products are 100% organic, and they are available throughout the area here. If you go over to the earthmix.net, which is the website, click on the Find Earthmix tab, and once you're there, it will give you the locations of all the vendors around Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, up into Indiana, Ohio. You can zoom in, or you can put an address in, and it'll give you turn-by-turn directions to the location nearest you. And it's not, you're not going to find Earthmix Garden products at box stores. It's only available at the finest independent retailers around. So remember this: success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earthmix Garden products.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate you giving us a moment to talk about that.
The containers that we planted last year of Proganics O and Landscape are now yielding once again a bountiful crop.
Yep.
At the nursery. And I don't think we added anything to it, did we, Austin?
No, negative. We had nothing. Literally the same stuff from last year. One of them, Pedro and the guys who like to grow some food out here, which we all do, they put cucumbers in one of them with a trellis system going up. They are going nuts. I mean, literally nuts.
Absolutely beautiful.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
they're like 6 feet tall. Tyler, I noticed you took home at least 5 cucumbers yesterday that you plucked from it.
6.
6.
And
sorry.
there's about 3 more that will be ready either today or tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, and there's plenty of them that are hiding. I'm sure they're sitting in there. And then the other pot of I think it was Landscape is the other pot, and we did nothing with it. It literally reseeded. It's got more basil in it than you could imagine.
Wow.
So much
seeds
basil.
It's half basil.
It's half basil just from last year, just leftover seeds. Got a random watermelon popped up from it just from seed, and then we got 2 tomatoes in there that just came back from seed. So they're all
basil and
living
watermelon.
and growing in the exact same soil that we used last year. So
Without intention this year.
yeah, literally without doing anything. So both of them great
At
mix.
most, all you'd need to do if you want to revitalize, or if the soil you have is in question, is use a bag or so of Earthmix Supernatural, which is our wonderful organic compost that
It's the stuff,
that we
man.
produce. That really is the difference maker. It is the secret sauce of many of the Earthmix products. So anyway, thanks for giving us a moment to talk about that. Let's go back to those questions. What do you
Yes.
say, guys and gals?
Let's go.
I
Here
say
we
let's
go.
do it. Hey, wait, before we leave, can we talk? What are we doing this week, David, about bags for dads? Bags for dads.
Bags for dads.
Well, he
doing
might have
something,
something to say when we talk about
Well,
Bates
I
Nursery.
will get to that in the next
Gotcha.
spot. But
All right,
yes,
let's get a question.
on the Bates Nursery side, we are dads
Use
are
it
getting
as a
free-
tease, David. Use it as a
Teaser.
tease.
Teaser.
Yeah,
get
dads
you
are
gotta
getting
stay
a
watching
free
to find
bag
out,
of
though.
Earthmix Garden. So,
Gave it
He
away.
said it.
It's out there now.
so anyway, but we'll talk about it more a little bit later. So
Sorry.
Take it away, Caroline.
Bags for dads. All right. What can I spray on my laurels to stop insects from eating holes in the leaves?
Oh, what
It's
a
not
great
insects.
question. David, you nailed it. You got it. Go ahead.
Well, it is a shot hole fungus that looks like it's being chewed on. And there I am. And I went missing mentally and all otherwise for just a moment there.
You fell down the shot holes. Yeah.
Shot hole fungus has the exact appearance of a chewing insect on it. It'll work on the margins of the leaves. They'll work on the interior of the leaves, but it is not an insect. And that is a pathogen that is caused primarily by overhead irrigation. And
So spraying water on the laurels is not a good idea.
overhead irrigation is not the cause, but it's the thing that causes the pathogen to splatter onto other leaves. So it makes it spread. So if you've got an irrigation system that sprays up on to that foliage, cut that out. Don't do that. We talk about, Austin's already mentioned about not watering foliage. Unless you're trying to get rid of spider mites on dwarf Alberta spruce or some other conifer, there's no benefit to putting that water on the foliage. It needs it on the soil. So be mindful of that. If you'll come out here to the nursery, you'll see that we have our laurels under a cover that has little drip emitters on each one of them. And that's not just because it looks cool, although it does. It is so that we water the soil only and we keep that overhead irrigation off of the foliage, which greatly minimizes the amount of shot hole fungus. Generally speaking, shot hole fungus is not a lethal kind of situation, but it makes them look rather unsightly. So you might, if it's really severe, you might just want to trim them back, fertilize them, allow them to flush back out, and keep that water off of the foliage.
Very good.
Yep.
There you go.
All
What did I
right.
miss? I think I covered it.
I think you got it all.
I
I
think
smashed one of my laurels yesterday. Actually, I didn't, but
She killed a plant last week. I mean, and then now she's smashing laurels. Come
Let's
on.
talk about it. Let's
Yeah.
talk about what happened to Caroline. We had a lot of straight line winds
Boy,
yesterday.
didn't we?
We did.
did. A lot of trees down, and Caroline was no upset. She had a massive hickory tree.
half of it fell down on top
Oh,
of my jade
no.
magnolia. Kind of destroyed that one a little bit, but it missed all of my boxwoods, my camellia, and my weeping mimosa, which we talked about last week. So I had a good friend come over, bring his kids, fed them pizza, and we chopped that branch down. And in doing that, we pushed it on top of a laurel, which felt kind of good in a way.
Yeah, it was fun. She asked me to come over. I said, "Well, as long as you feed my kids and my family, then I guess
And I did.
we'll come over."
We had a pizza party.
We chainsawed that hickory up because it was on top of stuff, especially that magnolia. It smashed the top out of it.
On top of
It's-
Magnolia.
And look at all that great firewood you've got.
I took
coming
the
up for
firewood.
I sent it home with them.
My wife wanted the firewood. My wife is hilarious about firewood. She always wants
cannot-
as much firewood as
Can't
we
get
can
better
get.
than hickory.
That's what I said. It burns forever. It's a great wood to have. So, yep, I loaded
You've
up the
got
bed of my
time
truck.
for it to cure properly between now and this winter.
That's right.
There you go.
Because
Y'all
I
are going to
could-
be so fancy with that tree.
Yeah.
Smell good too.
So, anyway.
Yeah, but speaking of laurels, smashed one, so I got to replace it. But it did have shot hole fungus all over it. All right, what is the best light for a Monstera?
Take it away,
Ooh,
Caroline.
Great question. So with my Monstera, I actually have them in a north-facing window, and they are thriving. Now, if they're getting lower light, they're going to grow longer because they're going to be reaching for that light. So instead of staying small and bushier, they're going to, grow up. If you've got a moss pole, it'll want to attach those aerial roots to that pole. I've even seen them growing up walls, which is kind of cool. But they can handle some light. I move some of my Monstera onto my front porch in the spring and summer where they receive direct light in the morning for I'd say an hour or two. So it's getting soft morning light. But if you want them to stay bushier, bright indirect light, maybe in a west facing window room where it's kind of away from the window so it's not getting super hot light. They'll love it. They're actually super easy, and I think they can adapt to a lot of lighting situations. But you can go, indirect light to some direct light morning or late afternoon where it's going to be nice and soft and forgiving and not burn those leaves. So, yeah, good question. Any recommendations for helping a weeping willow that is in shock?
In shock.
That sounds bad.
Why is it shocked?
What happened?
Well, it's hot, and weeping willow, y'all, loves water. You cannot water it too much, okay? So if it's a new planting, if it's stressed, it's probably because of water, and it's usually not enough. Like I said, they can literally live in water. Literally. So
Yes.
this time of year, we've got to make sure it's moist. And if it's a lot of times willows will stress too on the first year. I have noticed that interior yellowing of leaves and dropping of leaves. As long as you keep the leaves on until we get ready for a frost scenario, it's fine. It will bounce back next spring. Once it latches in and kind of gets through our first winter, you have much better success with willows, and they grow very, very fast. But on that first year, you really got to watch them. Like I said, you cannot water them enough. So
Yeah, I planted a dappled willow this a little bit late. It was probably maybe a month ago, and I didn't water it for probably 4 days, and it just
Started to shed.
burned the leaves, and it's fine. I mean,
one of the things that works great is if you're busy and you go, oh, well, I don't have time to get out there and water that tree, drag your hose out there and lay
Just
it
let it
right
down.
beside the trunk and turn it on at a trickle, and then just leave.
Yep, literally.
That's all you got to do.
You cannot
Just-
water it
you-
enough.
It's not even possible.
You've been doing a
That
drip
way
ring around
you'll-
it. I mean, you can take a small piece of soaker hose and put 2 different ends and a connection on it and just run the hose right out there to it.
We
Easy.
even sell
Wow.
those that loop around the trunk.
Yep.
That are
You do?
with a Y connector. Yep.
Uh-oh. Over in the garden center?
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
Oh, we
Cool.
got
Is
it.
that where we are right now?
We got it, baby.
Wow.
Okay.
oh, whoa.
If you need it, we got it. By the way, we just got a friend,
It's
A
exciting.
friend.
a
A
pop-up.
friend.
It just
A pop-up
it
friend.
just flew it. I don't really like them.
Why? They're so cool. They're like
There's a
little
praying
aliens.
mantis just popped up
Oh no.
on the
they're
boxwood.
so cool.
Not all
They're
no,
so
those are
cool.
great. Keep your praying mantises on your plants, y'all. They really eat other bugs. I don't know
Oh,
if we're
yeah.
And
gonna.
hummingbirds, some of
It's
them.
moving.
He's on the
You
go.
can-
He's little.
Oof.
They will, yeah, but he
they're
will
alien
grow.
looking.
You were so grossed
like it.
out by that.
More likely it's she if you can see her.
Yeah, I can just barely see it.
Can you get it there? Yeah.
And not, but I tell you what, if you get aphids, they will pick
Oh,
them clean in a day's time. They will. There's no telling how many they can eat. Now that one's a young one, but as they grow, they can eat hundreds a day, and do so.
Yeah, they're great. Anyway,
We're going to call him Emil.
Squirrel.
All right, are we ready for another question?
Let's do it. We have
Sure.
a lot.
Hydrangea question. I planted a phantom hydrangea weeks ago, but it isn't getting enough sun. Can I move it?
You can, but it's certainly going to be stressful on the plant. Well, I'm just going to say that. If you can wait until fall, until dormancy, when the leaves fall off, I say it all the time, it's much less stressful on the plant. If you can wait, let them leaves.
This is really as bad as it gets.
It's about as bad as it gets for a hydrangea. There's no doubt. Hence the name hydrangea, hydra. They like water, and if they don't have it, they stress, they wilt, they yellow, and they drop. So if you can wait. If you can't, do it, but be quick and get them moved quickly, and make sure you got a hose pulled out there, to water them right after you transplant. So
And if you do have to do it, dig the hole where it's going first, and get your soil prepared so you can literally be, hopefully, only a minute or maybe even seconds. Dig it out, move it straight over to it, backfill and water. I mean, drown it immediately.
Yes.
I do see a lot of pictures on various social media sites. People talking about their hydrangeas and how they're not able to keep them watered, or they're drying up. And of course, the other thing about the hydrangeas is that they have these really large leaves that are very adept at letting this vapor of water out. They're more adept at that than they are of the stems of bringing it up, and the what's known as turgor pressure, TERGER, drops. That makes the leaves droop, and so they can appear to be dry when they're actually not. And you'll notice, as soon as the sun goes down, they stand right back up. That's because they stop transpiring all that moisture at an overly rate. So there's not a lot you can do except make sure that they go into the hot of the day. You water in the morning on the soil to get them as hydrated as well as you can. Then you just have to deal with it. Don't look at them too much. If it concerns you, just stop
Too
looking
hot
at
to
them.
be outside anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So they're there.
It is hot outside. I transplanted a bunch of, they were limelight hydrangeas in the dead of winter, and they sat on my driveway for 3 weeks, and then I stuck them in the shallow ground, and they're doing great.
They are doing great. I saw them yesterday.
And if I had done that now, they would have died immediately. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, be careful.
I waited until they were dormant. All right, next question. Without wasting water, what's the best lawn watering strategy this coming week?
Rain.
We wish.
Yeah.
Maybe. Hopefully. We got a nice soaking out here yesterday. That was pleasant.
That was wild. It hailed.
It did. It hailed out here. And without wasting water, if you're watering your lawn, the only way you can water your lawn is to water your lawn.
Right.
I mean, you got to spray it down, and I wouldn't call it wasting.
No.
Your grass is using it, so don't overdo it. But we have a pretty good system of water around here. I mean, there's plenty of it, so moving your sprinkler system around the lawn and being efficient with it is the best way to water your lawn, because it is hot, and turf grass is certainly stressed. I know my lawn is dry right now. I mean, I cut it last Thursday, and it ain't grown hardly at all.
No.
It ain't growing right now, y'all. It ain't even barely green. I mean, I got the old Middle Tennessee lawn. It ain't.
Yeah, you do.
It's mostly clover and crabgrass and
Crepe and Charlie too. Yeah.
Well, it's all in there, but once you cut it, it all looks green.
But
The best thing you can do, seriously, on a lawn this time of year, unless you really have a persnickety lawn where you're just some people are. It's there are those who would say that any water you spend watering the grass is wasteful. There are those who would say that it's the best money they spend. But one thing for certain is when you go through extremely hot, dry periods, and it doesn't really matter which kind of grass you're talking about, mow it taller, especially cool season grasses.
Absolutely.
Set that mower up to the very highest setting. If you're cutting it, fescue should not be less than 4 inches tall. Less than 4 inches. So jack that mower up to its very highest setting if you want to give it the best opportunity to survive a severe spell. Do that. It's not as important on warm season grasses. Bermudas and zoysias are not going to. It's not going to matter that much to them.
they're not going to grow that tall anyway. A lot of them.
Right? No, they don't. So hey,
and water it thoroughly, not often.
you see back up here on the board behind me, here, right there on the screen. We're going to talk about what Austin brought up a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
It's Bates Nursery and Garden Center. That's where we are today, by the way. And we got a thing going on for dads.
Think we do.
Yes, we do.
Just for dads.
Yes,
The simple people.
If you don't know what to get for dad, you can buy dad any one thing that we have in stock, any one item. 20% off. Plus, you get a free bag of Earthmix Garden. That's
For
one
Dad?
per Bates.
Wow.
One per item per Bates household, and that's in store sales only. You can't do that online. So got to come in. You got to do it today, and you got to do it. Well, tomorrow is Father's Day. You're running out of time. So
David, are you telling me a dad could come out here and get 20% off of a $500 Japanese maple?
I'm saying that exactly. So
Japanese maple dads wanted. We still got some good selection, y'all. 20% off.
Even 20% off that great big honking crepe myrtle. It's in
That
full
big
bloom.
$700 crepe myrtle we've got out there. Yeah, 20% off.
And we also have a great selection of other shade trees and ornamental trees. And again, the best part is that they're all container grown. There's no transplant shock. So as long as you will be keeping them watered, which we obviously keep them watered here because we grow them on pavement. So if we can grow them on pavement, growing them in the ground at your house should be no problem. And
Absolutely.
we've still got color available if you want to come out and get some annuals. Perennials, obviously, you see on our little board there down in Joy's area. We always have a great selection of perennials to choose from, as well as natives, fruiting and ornamental plants, trees, shrubs, ground covers, you name it. And of course, in Caroline's world, everything tropical. So make sure you check out all the things we've got and pick our brain. That's really what we've got here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. We've got expertise.
Brains.
Our 90th year of business. And because of that, we've been able to accumulate a group of individuals who really know their stuff. And so no matter who you run into, if they don't happen to have the answer, they know how to connect with somebody who does have the answer. So we're not going to send you away without knowing. Take photographs with your smartphone or your tablet and bring those along with you. It really helps us a lot to be able to visualize what you're working on. And just remind you, tomorrow, Sunday, is our last Sunday of the spring season. So noon until 4 tomorrow. We'll be open 9 until 4 today and Monday through Saturdays going forward. So keep that in mind. Tomorrow is our last Sunday. So come on out and see us today or tomorrow or any day, Bates Nursery and Garden Center, where we've been beautifying Nashville since 1932. We're just a mile north of Briley Parkway, which is just minutes from Rivergate, Opry Mills, Nashville West, downtown Nashville. And no matter where you're coming from, it's worth the drive. We have things you will not find anywhere else. Bates Nursery and Garden Center. And thanks for giving us a moment to discuss that and help you get Dad squared away.
Dad would like a poodle bush too. I mean, all those topiary that are out there out front.
Poodle bush.
Our guy, one of our good
pom-poms. Oh man, they're awesome.
Yeah, our employees, right? Well, Lazaro actually is one of
All
our
day.
great employees. He's been spending the last 2 days trimming up our topiaries, and he does an excellent job of those, putting the swirl
he
back
does
on
a
them.
fabulous job of
He
that.
does. He's very
I tried to decide
meticulous.
who is better, he or Ben. They're both really
that's a
really
hard
good.
one.
They're both good.
Looks like we should have a competition.
Well, I don't know.
Come on.
They're both good.
It would be
We
so
already
fun.
have a container off. Now we're gonna have a topiary off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get 1 minute.
Tope off.
Tope off.
There we go. All
All
right.
right.
Very cool.
Let's get another question, I think.
I think before we get a question, we should get a
Oh,
Tyler.
oh, because
on,
somebody
Tyler.
knows right now
What's in
Bloom.
with Austin.
Okay, what's in bloom? Not too much right now when it comes to trees, but I will talk about a couple that are new. Magnolias are still blooming, y'all. This is 5 weeks. 5 weeks in a
Wow.
row of blooming. So magnolias, if you want an evergreen tree that blooms, get a magnolia. They're beautiful. Moving on, crepe myrtles are really in show right now. That's our beautiful summertime blooming trees. Not all of them are in bloom. Mainly the white ones are going. The red ones are kind of going. There's a number of varieties, but they're certainly blooming around town, and they will keep blooming for a number of weeks. You'll hear me talk about crepe myrtle for a few weeks coming on. So another good one. One that opened up recently is Vitex, the old chase tree. A lot of people, a lot of people think it.
Yeah, what do they look like?
They look similar. Most people misidentify them as butterfly bush.
Okay.
They've kind of got that look about them. They
Okay.
get much bigger. There's dwarf varieties certainly, but most, the most well-known Shoal Creek Vitex is just the kind of the one we sell the most of, and
Okay.
it's just a large blooming blue purple flowering plant.
By the way, Vitex has lost their greatest proponent in Adam Burton, who's moving away to Florida. So I'm sure he'll have a Vitex somewhere down there, but he was the undisputed Vitex king.
He was. He had 13
He had more
different-
cultivars
Yeah.
than anybody.
Wow.
13 different cultivars in his yard is what he had. He really loved it.
Unbelievable.
So, it's a good plant to grow, y'all. It's a good substitute for crepe myrtle if you want something similar but a little bit different color. You don't get to see crepe myrtle in blue or purple, blue really very often. So if you want to substitute, Vitex is certainly great for that.
Yep.
I noticed this morning Rose of Sharon, Hibiscus syriacus, is in bloom. Old school classic, lives anywhere except for deep shade. It really prefers a lot of sun. But if you've got sun, Rose of Sharon's going to bloom for you and live just easily. And then let's talk again. I mentioned it last week, but it is like one of my favorite trees, and it's the golden rain tree. I was thinking about it. There is no yellow blooming trees. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but early in the spring you have some magnolias that bloom yellow, but it's not like a true
Yellow.
vibrant yellow. If you want a yellow blooming tree that is just eye-striking, get you a golden rain tree. They're fantastic. They live in any situation, minus deep shade. Other than
Tulip
that,
tree is the
though,
only other yellow flowering tree I can think of off the top of my head. But,
Chased?
and they're not really showy. You'll get one that might bloom every few years, and it may be profuse
David, is that the
occasionally,
one
but-
that has almost look like the fingers coming out when the blooms pop out? I mean,
Golden rain tree, you talking?
no, golden rain tree has got the pendulous type blooms though.
No,
right?
you're thinking golden chain. Pendulous means they weep kind of
Right.
down. That's golden chain. Golden
Okay.
chain doesn't really live here very well. I ain't
Okay.
gonna lie to you. It's tricky. But golden rain tree, Colrataria as the genus is a fantastic tree here, and those bloom spikes are up.
Okay.
Very upright and
They are popping
Throwing
this
at you.
year. So
Jazz
And the
hands.
tulip tree is the native state tree.
Right.
So
oh yeah, tulip popper. Yeah, but like you said, David. I mean, yeah, they bloom, but they're so covered in foliage, and the plant gets so big that you just don't. They're not as showy, you know. So, gosh, if you want a yellow blooming tree, please get you a golden rain. They are really.
have
I'm
to
sure
have
the
a
birds
drone to
appreciate
appreciate
the
'em.
tulip poplar blooms. Yep.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then moving on really quickly because we don't have much time is a lot of perennials, daylilies, echinacea. Which echinacea, y'all? If you need some coneflowers, we are stocked.
We've got every shade.
Oh my
in the
God,
color
we've got
book.
200
got-
right now. I
yeah.
got 200 coming in next week of all different colors from Monrovia. They're at a discounted price a little bit because it's summertime and that's when the deals kind of happen. So if you're ready to add some coneflower, come on out because we have the best selection in town. I guarantee it.
Okay.
Hydrangeas still really kicking off. The panicles haven't really started yet. Caroline talked about her limelights. They are budded up, I noticed at her house yesterday, but they are not blooming yet. But they will be. And then gladiolus. My gladiolus blooms have come out. It's so fantastic. And then in Caroline's world, go ahead with
Prickly pear.
Prickly pear.
Yep. I have prickly pear in lots of my beds, and they're really blooming more this year than they have in the past. I'd say like 3 times as much. And all of mine are yellow bloomers. They're gorgeous. And if you're lucky, they will fruit, which mine did fruit last year.
Can you eat?
So-
You can eat that prickly pear.
Absolutely,
You can eat
you
all
can.
parts
Does it
of
taste good though?
Yes,
Yes.
it does.
Does it?
Uh-huh.
I've never
But
had
it's
it. I really
prickly.
never-
You haven't?
I haven't had any prickly
There's
pear
a
fruit.
great Mexican restaurant on Nolensville Pike, El Tapatio maybe, that has like an actual pad that they grill there.
It's
They remove
called-
all the spines. It's so good.
It's called nopal.
Nopal.
Nopales. So if you see
Oh,
that
I
on
thought
the
you were
menu-
correcting me on the restaurant.
But
I was
the
like,
fruit
no,
that's
Tyler.
on them
No, I'm not correcting you, Caroline.
you
not,
dare.
No, wouldn't dare.
The fruit on them is vicious to try to clean, though.
It is,
Yeah,
and I've cleaned mine before when mine fruited, but and it's good.
It's
all parts of
wonderful.
it are really
A
good.
lady gave me a tip. You take a knife and you stand it up and you just go down the side with the knife and you knock everything off.
Yep.
So
You can get it at the grocery store pickled, which
Yep.
is good still, but not the same. So
Well,
yeah, y no sé nada sobre los restaurantes mexicanos.
yes.
Just saying.
Are there any more things in
that's
bloom?
mainly what's in bloom, y'all.
All
That's
right.
that's what's happening around.
Very cool.
So, there we go.
Let's move on. We've got a handful of questions left. We'll see what we get to. What's the best way to get rid of fungus gnats in indoor plants? A lot of times with fungus gnats, they are an indicator that you're overwatering your plant. So you want to cut back on watering. They love a lot of moisture and light. So if you've got that plant in a window, those fungus gnats are going to be thriving. You do often, or about half the time, will bring it in with new soil. There's brands at big box stores that this year have had a lot of problems with having fungus gnats in the soil. So always check your soil before you plant your plants in it. There is one brand that I have never had problems with, and that is the Earthmix Organics I. I've never had fungus gnats in that soil, and with all of the plants that I've used that soil with, I've never had an issue with fungus gnats.
Is that because
There's
of
a
the
good
peat
reason
in the
for
other
that.
ones?
So it doesn't use peat moss. It uses
Right.
coconut coir,
Right.
which is better for the environment and less likely to get fungus gnats. Now, if you have that problem already, there's a couple ways to treat it. The first way is if it's bad, I always recommend just changing out the soil. Take your plant out, knock all the soil off, rinse the roots, and get a new bag of soil, maybe a different brand than what you used before, and repot it. Now, if you're not ready to repot it or the problem isn't that bad, I use a hydrogen peroxide water mix. It's a one part hydrogen peroxide to 3 parts water, and just flush the soil out. That's going to kill all of the fungus gnats on
That's
contact.
H2O plus H2O2.
There it is.
It
Yes.
is, okay.
So sciencey over there. You might have to do this a couple times, but that will help at least or completely rid those fungus gnats. You can also use those yellow sticky traps that you just stick inside your plant. It's not very good looking, but it should do the job. So you have a few options out there, but if you have that problem right now, go ahead and check your watering schedule and make sure that plant's not staying too moist.
Okay.
All
Yes.
right. Next question. Can all warm season annuals planted now as long as there is enough time to maturity. I'm assuming be planted now.
Yeah.
Sure.
I
Sure.
planted lantana like
If
2
you can
days
find
ago.
them. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the key. We have a lot of the hot, warm season stuff right now that's looking the best. So lantana, vinca, what else we got back there? It looks good. We're getting out of annual season somewhat soon, y'all.
There's a ton back there.
We're trying
We
to
have a ton
kind
of annuals.
Gomphrena.
Gomphrina's a good summer one. Zinnias, they'll take the
Yep,
summer
we got
sun real nice.
marigolds out there.
Angelonia is a good one. Yeah, so
Portulaca.
Portulaca is really good for the
Portulaca?
summer sun. So, but you probably need to start thinking about getting them and doing it because we're starting to try to get on that outward slide of annuals. Annuals get really hard to take care of as the season goes on because y'all know they're in small pots. They really
Right.
want to grow. So we need to get y'all those plants so you can get them out, get them in the earth, and let them start growing.
There
So
you go.
Let them
Yep.
live their
Let's do
best
it.
life until it freezes and then they die. Okay, how often should I water my olive tree? Right now, my olive tree, which is sitting on my black driveway, I've been watering about once a week. They like to stay pretty dry, but not too dry. So I'm an underwaterer, and you might want to be watering it twice a week if it is getting the ample amount of sunlight that it needs to thrive. So they like, pretty much all day sun, at least 6 hours of sun if you have it outside, or if it's inside, you need it close to a window, a south-facing window, west-facing window. So it's getting as much sunlight as possible. And then let it dry out between waterings. I'd say it's similar to a ficus. They like to stay on the dry side. Then when you go to water, thoroughly water that plant so water runs out of the bottom of the pot. That's going to help with root growth, with washing salts out of the soil, and it's the correct way to water all of your houseplants.
Overwatering will kill olives quicker than anything.
Yes.
They can go without water for weeks. Literally
Yeah.
weeks, and they'll stress and they'll slowly die. But without water, they're okay. With too much water, they're not good, and they'll look bad. So
Very arid climate where they were
very
originally
much so.
from.
Hey,
Yeah.
fun fact about olives: they can live to be like 2,000 years old.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And older. I was in Southern California once, and they were selling B&B massive olive trees that were labeled as 2,000-year-old olive trees. Now, I don't know if that was real or not, but I have done some extensive reading on olive trees, and there are some groves in the Mediterranean that
Absolutely.
are literally over 2,000 years old. So,
Certainly.
If you can kill yours in 2 weeks,
You've overwatered it.
you've overwatered
And it is possible. And
Yeah.
as David I mentioned a couple weeks ago with olive trees, they are the new fiddle leaf fig. So they're so popular.
They're trendy.
They're so trendy. People want them as a houseplant, but know that they will pretty much go dormant, maybe all the way inside in the winter.
Don't
My
give up
mom's
on
did it. We have a lot of customers that have come in and they're like, I bought this olive tree and it's just a stick. And that was back in like February. And my mom, I told her just to give it time. Once it warms up, put it outside. It might even take a couple weeks. She didn't listen to me. She went ahead and bought a new olive tree, like a tiny one, put it in the same pot as the dead olive tree. Now she has two.
Twins? Yeah.
Now she has, one's a little bit bigger than the other, but that one flushed back out. And she was like, well, I guess there's 2 olive trees in this pot now. So give them
not all bad.
time. They might not look great in the winter, but
Okay, we're
more
coming
than
up
likely
against it.
not
What other
dead.
questions you got?
We've got 2 more. What are some indoor plants who won't mind my home's lack of light too much? Sansevieria, Dracaena, Spathiphyllum, and Aglaonema, and ferns are my 5 suggestions. The first ones I mentioned are low water. The last ones I mentioned are higher water. So there are some options, but you always need some source of light for those plants to survive. You can't put something
And
in
the
a dark,
final
dark
question
basement.
today.
And the final question, you're rushing me, David. Here we go.
I am
We're
rushing
wrapping
you.
back
Let's
around to the beginning of the program. What's the best treatment for Japanese beetles and aphids not to kill pollinators? I already tried neem oil, but it did not work.
Yeah, because neem oil doesn't work very well for beetles, and trying not to kill pollinators is a very tricky thing. Any type of chemical that you're going to spray that's synthetic, that's more or less made in a lab, is going to affect pollinators. So as much as you can do with your hands is the quickest, most effective method. Like Josh was saying earlier, get you a tennis racket out there and start whacking some beetles. Get your flick going and flick those beetles off. When it comes to aphids, prune out issues as much as you can, or just literally use your hands and squash
Rip 'em
those
off.
bugs as much as you can. Aphids are easy to kill with soaps and oils. That's okay. Japanese beetles, not so much. You really need harsher chemicals that are going to affect pollinators. So much as you can do with your hands, do it.
Yep. All right,
Pickleball
guys.
racket's probably more fashionable now.
Yeah.
Pickleball. Okay, we're getting pickleball courts in Smyrna, Tennessee. Thank you very much. All right. Happy Father's Day to everybody who is a father. And if you have a father, go see your father if you possibly can, because there's one of those things that daddies really like to see their babies. So all is good.
Josh, happy Father's Day to you.
Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day, Austin.
Thank you.
All right.
Happy Father's Day to y'all.
Okay,
Father's
guys,
Day.
next Saturday morning, we're going to come back. It might be hot in the studio, but it's always a good thing to do to join us because it is your Saturday morning tradition. It's the best radio show on television. It's the At Home Show.
Yeah.
We thank you for being here. We'll see you next week.